Doing a little bit of planning for hooking up our solar panels to our charge controller. And I'm not an electrician. Still not. Wasn't in any of the other videos on this either. But I wanted to show you what I'm looking at as far as how to wire these up, series versus parallel, and what the voltage and amperage is supposed to be when it comes out. So here's one scenario I'm looking at. My charge controller can handle 115 volts at 80 amps. That's the max. I'm not going to get anywhere near the 80 amps with the panels that I have. Well, I guess I could, depending on how I wired them, but I'm not going to get close to that. But here's the first one. And so whenever you're deciding how to wire up panels, if you wire them in series like this, it's going to add together the voltage so that 30.4 volt for each panel adds up to this 91.2 volts. But the amp stays the same whenever you wire in series. So these three are in series, these three are in series, and they come out to that. And then if I take them paralleled from that point down to here, so I'm connecting negatives and negatives, positives to positives, now I'm going to have my volts stay the same, but my amps bumps up. So you don't want to max out your voltage because it's not, you don't want to burn up your charge controller. And remember, I'm at 115 volt max. So this would be under, and from things I've read, you want to stay about 10% under on the voltage, because when solar panels get cold, they put out more voltage than they're rated for. So this number is going to be higher when it gets super cold outside. So this is my first option. Here's my next one. So this one, I have three series actually, with 2 panels in each one. So when I add voltage up, I get 60.8 here, with the amperage staying at 7.89, and that happens 3 times over. And then when I run that to parallel, it gets me at 60.8 volts with 23.67 amps. So the difference between these two is the first one has higher volts, less amps. This one has lower volts, more amps. And so technically, I think either one of these could work within the parameters of my charge controller, but I think I'm going to go with this setup because I'm using 10 gauge wire. It's what from my understanding, most solar panel PV wire is 10 gauge, and that's rated up to I think 30 amps. It can vary depending on the kind of wire you got, but this is kind of pushing up close to that. And it seems to me that having a little lower amperage would probably work better for this. And higher voltage, the higher voltage isn't going to be too much for my controller. So I think this is the setup I'm going to do. So just to give you an idea on why you need to plan this out if you're hooking up solar panels, remember my parameters I got to be within is that. So if I were to hook all of these panels up in series, so basically you're going positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, and same thing here, and then your positive and negative are coming out. You would end up having 182 volts at 7.89 amps, which is way over that 115. Now that would save me a lot of wire because I'd only have 2 wires coming out, but I can't do that because it'd be too high of a voltage for my charge controller. On the contrary, if I did them all parallel, it'd give me 30.4 volts, which is a lot lower voltage, but now my amperage is up at 47.34. You may be saying, well, that's that's 80 amps, so it can handle that. This is true, but now I've got to get a higher, or I guess higher is not the, I've got to get thicker wires, which cost a lot more money because this is too high of an amperage for the PV wires to handle. So neither of these scenarios are going to work for me. Plus, with this one here, with all parallel, you're talking about running 2 wires from every single one, and then you're going to have a combiner box, and it's just, this is not, neither one of these will work. So this is why you need to plan out how you connect your solar panels to do it the most cost-effective way, and the way that is going to work for what your charge controller can handle.